Welcome to the Occult Rejects. We are two former secret society members who were determined to show the public the truth that occultism has been purposely integrated into every aspect of society, from politics to music, Hollywood, and science. This is used to manipulate the public as a whole and to protect the fake elite. The symbols are used all around us to affect world events and public perception, our behavior, and even our future. We will translate the occult so that you have eyes to see. We reject their agenda to give you the tools to save yourself.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Occult Rejects with your hosts Lux
and the MY Patriot.
Today we got part 2 of the Fellowship of Friends, the weird, mysterious cult that we covered one episode prior, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into some of the business connections in this episode. The first episode was more or less to give everyone a background of who these people are, how the cult or religion is structured, the important people involved with the cult, and it's just some general background information. So this one's going to get a little bit more deep into the stuff, and I can't wait to get into it, man. This series has been cool.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely a good change of pace, too, and it was just very interesting, and, I mean, unfortunately, it is kind of screwed up, too, but it was an interesting thing to stumble upon. It's wild, like, you have to, like, start to, like, even this made me even start to wonder, like, how many of these things are around and people just don't even hear about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I went on Vice one day and was, like, looking at all their coverage on cults. And I was like, yo, these fucking things are crazy. Like, there's tons of them.
Yeah, that's what we were saying last time. In episode 1, it was like, I think generally society, the public thinks that the cult stuff has died down, since the 80s. And sure, it could be, but there's still way more cults now than people realize.
For sure, I totally agree.
And it's just they've gotten better at hiding. Like, look at Nexium, for example. Or this other weird situations that's going on with this actor now. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like an actor who's been accused of being a cult leader.
Yes,
and he's like a predominant actor and shit.
Now. Damn it! I came across that when we were covering this. I think just because I was looking for cult stuff, like when I was looking for stuff for this. I came across that on, I think it was YouTube, and I was like, come on, this dude's got a cult? I can't remember who it is, though, now. And I was like, wow.
Exactly. So there's still way more of these cults than we realize, and, it might have died down a little bit, but I think they've just gotten better at what they do.
I mean, there was one, not to even get too crazy into it, just to mention it real quick. I came across one that's called a Uni-Cult, and I think it's literally just like an online one. Really. Like, most of it is, like, this person has, like, I think a few friends over their house, but most of it is all done through, like, actual online, through the internet. And it's like, yo, what the fuck? Like, you don't even have to go to a compound anymore.
What you're talking about.
You just gotta fucking follow this person.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking. It's like that chick, right? It's a girl.
Yes, it's kind of younger looking, in my opinion.
Yeah, and she's, like, blonde, and she can claim to talk to aliens and stuff or whatever, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very weird. Very weird. Yeah. All right. So, with this episode, I'm going to, I did go into some of, like, I guess, like, how I normally do it. When I start looking at the companies and people involved and stuff like that, I did that with the Vineyard, and I also have that for the school itself. But before that, I am going to play, there is a news thing out there where they, like we mentioned before, this has been mentioned in the news. You saw it online, and this is like an actual video that like was covered on TV. So I'm just gonna play it. I think it's interesting that like we said before, people are mentioning it, but like that's it. Like I just feel like this should be something that should be talked about a little bit more. I don't know, but here is a video from some news station where they even covered it.
Google, you use it every day. We all do. In fact, everyone around the world uses it every day. But who are the people inside Google? Turns out there is another campus nearby in Northern California Actually, look at it. It's more of a compound. It's called the Oregon House, and it's home to hundreds of members of the Fellowship of Friends. That's what it's called, the Fellowship of Friends, which some say is actually a cult. 500 members live in or around the lush compound, which once featured a very lucrative vineyard, an amphitheater, and a mansion. And now a former Google employee claims that the two campuses are in fact connected in ways that Google may not want to admit. Kevin Lloyd, who is not a fellowship member, was fired from his job in a Google division, where about half of his coworkers were made up of those from the religious sect, including the head of the division, his boss. Lloyd has filed a lawsuit claiming discrimination.
But Kevin Lloyd maintains that he was fired from a specific section of Google called the Google Developers Studio. This looks into videos and creates videos for Google, and about 12 of its members or former members are said to have been part of Fellowship of Friends. So Mr. Lloyd spoke out about this and claims he was dismissed because of that, whilst Google is telling me he was dismissed because of his performance.
So, yeah, that is whatever news station they're talking about how, they're even mentioning that the guy, supposedly saying that he did not, he got fired because of not being in the cult. And again, they are saying that it was for performance issues, blah, blah, blah. But, they do acknowledge that there is something going on over there, so. The news has mentioned it. It just doesn't seem to have gotten any, attention. Again, which I find weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's a huge story, and I have no idea why no one's talking about it.
Yeah, I looked up Renaissance Vineyard and Winery. This is it's in California. There it shows Oregon House, so it's the right place. And there's some names. Got a whole bunch of Dean Cromwell, Greg Holman, I mentioned earlier, Higgett Rubach, Richard Thiel. Here's one of the people that was on there, Andrus Smyrna. He's a dentist. And they do mention, I know like in some interviews with people, they did say that there was a lot of like doctors and medical people there. I do think I come across a few of them.
Lots of them.
Yeah. This person worked at the Dental Wellness Center of Grass Valley, independent contractor for Renaissance Vineyard and Winery, independent consultant for Just Cleanse, and Kremer Dental, Sierra Family Health Center Dental, a lot of dental stuff with this person. Then I mentioned Richard Thiel before, who was also on there. He comes off for the Renaissance Vineyard. He's also got Thiel Engineering. And the Capri restaurant that I cover. Richard Thiel, Oregon House, president for Thiel Engineering. So, it's the same guy. Shows him here. Thiel Engineering. He's the president. He does have an engineering company, so I'm sure that probably helps with whatever's getting worked on over there. You never know. I thought that might have been an angle for that guy to be involved.
Well, it's a lot of engineering to make a vineyard, that's for sure.
Then he has the Capri restaurant. It's a restaurant. It says right there. And believe it or not, that restaurant's actually been on Hell's Kitchen. It was actually ran by his two twin brothers. And it's gone out of business anyway, even though Ramsey went there.
I was going to say, it looks very similar to the picture that you just showed. Like the twin, they do look a lot alike.
Yeah. So
I know that like that whole episode was really crazy because they were like very disgusting business owners.
I had looked up.
Sticks out.
When I looked it up and everything, I was like, oh, this thing's not even in business anymore. And I read some of the reviews for the place, and like a lot of the reviews said the same thing. Like the food was good. It's just those two owners and like their personality, and the place was fucked up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we got Richard Thiel, again, Oregon House. Now I found this on Corporation Wiki instead of through Wikipedia. He was the previous president for the Lewis Carroll School Association. Now Lewis Carroll is also kind of like, I think, what the pen name for like the person who wrote Alice in Wonderland. There it is, Lewis Carroll School Association. 1983, it's inactive now. It was a president. Lewis Carroll School Association. Shows that it was a school, K through 12, charities, education, tax-deductible donations, of course. Shows you this was in Oregon House, Yuba County. It shows you all like their stuff, 990s, financial stuff for their school. Shows them taking in nothing except at the end, miscellaneous revenues at $47,000. Personnel at Lewis Carroll School Association. It's Thomas Neuschatz, Deborah Horner. I thought maybe I'll look them up. Now, remember, this is with Richard Thiel. This guy was Dr. Thomas Neuschatz, family medicine, Chico, California. He was also a doctor that I found that lost his license for overprescribing opiates. They took his license away because basically he was just, like, from what I read, like, they were even stating, like, this guy wasn't even checking, like, x-rays and nothing. He was just prescribing people pills and not following up with them, really. To me, that sounds like it's probably, I don't know if you ever heard of this, Lux, a Dr. Feelgood, where, you know, you can just go, like, there's doctors that people just go to knowing that they could just get pills if they probably pay cash and shit like that.
Yeah, my finger hurts and now I got
Yeah.
Oxycontin.
Yeah. I fell off my bike. It was fucking Oxycontin. Yeah, there's a bunch of Vicodins. So, yeah, that's pretty much the deal with him. So now you got him associated with Lewis Carroll School, K through 12, a doctor that lost his license for overprescribing opiates.
So is he the guy just in that area that is, like, in charge of the Carroll School, or is he, like, the guy for the entire country? Like, is he the CEO or is he the CFO?
I only saw him down as a personnel that worked there. I don't know his exact role.
Because that school is huge. I used to teach and have taught many kids from the John Carroll schools, so they're not just located in that, like, western part of the U.S. They're all over the place. They're huge.
I did find that. I wasn't sure if this was actually associated with the whole, because there is a kind of like a bunch of them, like you're saying. I just wasn't sure. I was like,
Right.
I just wasn't sure if this was totally connected. I think it might have been, and then that, you know, that was a lot of stuff to go into. It's just like, I don't know. But here is just a couple of things I'm throwing up on the screen. He did lose it for Chapter 13, Drug Abuse Prevention and Control, Subchapter 1, Control and Enforcement. You know, he lost his license for that shit. Deborah Horner, she's an office manager at Yes Charter Academy. Yeah, and that is another.
That's another school.
Yes. Yep. That one is a. But that is like now another charter school, and that was the one. Remember I sent you the videos, and you said you thought it was like some weird geocaching thing, but like it just was like really shady. It was just like videos of like them filming like a bunch of kids like out in nature, and then like all of a sudden they'd show some like tag of like where this is or some shit. Remember I sent that to you?
Yeah,
That was that school.
Yeah, they like the Yes School. There's another one that's called the ACE School, and John Carroll. They all basically have the philosophy that, like, you learn through doing, through like play and stuff. And I know that even some of those schools, especially for ACE, that they make kids go to school during the summer too. So yeah, just a little information about them.
Yeah, the Yes Charter Academy. Yuba Environmental Science Charter Academy. Here you go. It even shows P.O. Box, whatever, Oregon House. You know, this place is an Oregon House. And about Yes. Life's foundation is built on childhood experiences. Yes Charter Academy students build a deep connection to nature, whether at the school pond, the greenhouse, garden, native plant trail, or nearby rivers and forests. They are educated in the midst of the oak woodland habitat and the North Yuba watershed, where they carry out rigorous academic work and relevant environmental science projects. They arrive at college or the workplace ready to succeed. Project-based learning, science-based assemblies and field trips, a farm-to-school garden program, on-site hen house and greenhouse, free breakfast and lunch programs for all students, and free bus transportation across Yuba County. Free TK to 8 public school. If you look at the Fellowship of Friends, where their compound is, to this school, they are 7 minutes away from each other. I don't know what made me think of that. I was like, I wonder how close this school is to there. I just found that interesting, that it is like fucking right around the corner if you look at this map.
Well, and with a lot of charter schools too, and again, this might not be something that is applicable to every state, but I know at least in the state that I taught, charter schools are, you go to a charter school based on a lottery. Okay, so it's not like your kids could necessarily go there and apply. In some situations, it's more just a lottery. So everyone applies, and then they pool these random, more or less like numbers out of a hat.
Yeah.
And then whoever gets that number, then your kid gets to go to that school. So just a kind of could be leading into some weird stuff. Like if that same thing applies there, 7 minutes away, maybe all of the names that they might be pulling out of the hat could all be coming from the Oregon house, you know?
And then you know what I thought was really, I don't know what the fuck made me do this. For some reason, I was looking on the map, and I was like, oh, this is Oregon House Grocery and Deli. I don't know what the fuck made me click on that or even start looking at it. But I did, and Oregon House Grocery and Deli, Rice Crossings Road, Oregon. I'm showing you right here. Oregon House and Deli. You look it up, Oregon House Grocery and Deli. You get this one guy, Pankaj Verma, who owns it. And when you look him up, I don't know how, but co-workers that work at this place, your doctor, Thomas Newshatz, happens to be working there as well. So now I'm like,
At a deli?
At a deli that's in between the Yes Charter School and the Cult compound.
Why would a doctor be working at a deli?
Well, an ex-doctor that got, his license taken away for pushing pills.
Well, maybe that's why, because he was already pushing bologna.
Yeah. Now he's slicing it up and selling it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want to start getting into some weird fucking out there shit, but this one to me made me think of like a link for possible trafficking or who knows what the fuck's going on. This is very weird. That a doctor who associated with that guy Richard Thiel is also associated with the deli that's in between the fucking charter school and the cult.
Right.
It's like in the middle. It's like the one stop that you'd be stopping at before, in between there.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking wow.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Weird.
I remember when you first showed this to me, I had kind of seen some similar stuff about like the deli but when you showed me this, I was pretty. It's not like one of those things like, whoa, this is really crazy, but it's something that's so weird and off and just doesn't feel right about the location. Like something to me feels weird there.
Yeah, and you know what, too? The thing is that I think is weird, too, if you think about it. This guy, for money, obviously had no problem just feeding people pills, knowing he's probably fucking their lives up, too. Now this dude's, like, around kids, like, is he just, like, I hate to say it, but it is, like, a drug, I mean, God. It's like I don't even want to say it, but you know what I'm getting at? Like, it's just really weird.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Keep him docile or some shit.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just weird to me too. Like, you're a doctor. He wasn't even like a pediatric doctor, and now he's just suddenly working around all these kids. Just shady to me.
Yeah, but it shows him, Newshatz, whatever you say his fucking name, Oregon House in Delhi. And then that deli, though, their website is really weird because it's actually not it's not a deli. It's a place where you can go and basically ride horses or train horses. It's like it's something to do with fucking horses, man. But I thought that was really weird. But it's all they're all like in Oregon, like they're all around in that area too. I think I plugged this in to see how far away from it was from Fellowship of Friends, and it like wasn't that close, so I didn't mention it. But yeah, this was I still found this shit just weird.
So this Eventful Acres or whatever.
Yeah, and
this
I had
is
to go
registered
into. This is the
to the
site
same address.
Yeah, that's for the site for the deli, but I even had to put it into the Wayback Machine too. Yeah, Eventful Acres. And yeah, Eventful Acres is a 35-acre equestrian facility in Oregon House, California, located in the beautiful rural Sierra foothills. Majestic oak trees provide shade over the lush grass footings. Shelters with misters, 140 paddocks, and 1,900 feet elevation provide a pleasant camping environment for groups wishing a several-day stay. They do have stuff for horse and rider. Yeah. What else? Yeah, and then like they do have Eventful Acres now. You can find them on Facebook though. They're active on Facebook, I think, kind of. And I think I did. Sorry, I did. That's 12 minutes away from the clubhouse, the cult in the compound.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is even another one that's real close, and looks like it's actually not too far away from. Probably yes, because it almost looks like the same shit.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was some weird shit associated. I mean, that's just a rabbit hole that I went through just from people that are associated with the winery. You got this guy who has a construction company, and then he's associated with some Lewis Carroll school with a doctor for pushing pills, and then this, that guy's just then they're associated with a lady who's got another charter school. Yes, charter. It's fucking
yeah.
A lot of schools, a doctor with pills, and then that deli in the middle.
Yeah, I get where you're going with it.
It's just
does
very
seem
weird. Yeah.
All of it seems very. None of it makes sense.
No.
It doesn't make sense why you would have all of these different things that don't seem to tie together at all. It's just bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was more or less stuff that we had talked about earlier about like some of the allegations.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, yeah, it kind of goes over, this article breaks down like all of the false predictions that never ended up happening, Then, so in the name of religion, so this is an article from 1995 out of San Diego. And this is talking about how 5 months after he had a sexual encounter with Robert Burton, the founder and leader of the Fellowship of Friends, Richard Laurel wrote an open letter to his fellow members in the group. The letter explains that Burton had asked Laurel to become a night guard at his chateau-like home at the Fellowship headquarters, called Apollo. Here in the tiny foothills of the community of Oregon House, among the duties of the guards, Laurel said, was to give Burton massages. Like most members of the fellowship, Laurel went on to say he considered Burton to be practically a god and someone whom he could fully trust in every regard. So it's no surprise and shock to him, Laurel said, when during a massage, Burton pulled down Laurel's pants and without a word performed oral sex. Quote, I felt betrayed and used by the man who I thought was my spiritual father, wrote Laurel, who prefers to be identified by his surname he used while in the fellowship. It bothered him even more when he found that many other members, including his teenage son, had been pursued for sex by Burton for years. Laurel's letter led to a wave of resignations and expulsion of lifetime members of the group. The resulting loss of as much as $500,000 in annual dues may have in turn sparked a financial crisis, according to some former members.
Yeah, I think the sample that I have for the intro of the first one mentions that guy who even says like he thought he was a god.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So says further down in the article, Abraham Goldman, Burton's attorney, insisted that, and this name is going to be very, very important. Everyone listening to the podcast, remember the name Abraham Goldman. It's so important for the stuff that we have going further. So Burton's attorney insisted that the sexual encounter between Burton and Laurel was consensual. Quote, "It was not the only time that they had physical affection with each other," Goldman added. Mr. Laurel's letter doesn't tell the full story. It did, however, lead some longtime members to question Burton and his behavior, partly because Laurel's complaint echoed charges made against Burton and the fellowship in a lawsuit by a former member by the name of Samuel Sanders in 1984. So this history of abuse has gone on for a very long time. Members ignored it, tried to hide it under the rug, pretend that it didn't exist, and yet overwhelmingly there were just hundreds of accounts of people who came forward to accuse the leader of this cult, Burton, as a sexual abuser. And we'll show more of it throughout the series, but it seems like the allegations never end.
No, and actually, to go along with your hundreds of allegations, I do have a sample that I can play to go along with. I mean, if this shit is true, I don't understand how most of the place I just don't get how people really didn't know what's going on there. Like, I think a lot of more people had to know, you know what I'm saying, what was going on. So I'll play this as one sample from, person's, experience supposedly there.
Robert had this initiative to celebrate with like a special love fest where he wanted to have sex with 100 men, which required a lot of effort to make it happen. It needed special organization so that he will have people back to back in order to fit 100 men. But I think he couldn't quite do it 100 and he got run down. But he did about maybe 70 or something, roughly.
I mean, if you're pulling something off like that every year, how do people not know what the fuck's going on?
I'm nauseous after that one.
Yeah, I mean, there was even one lady, she says that she was, I guess, kind of like I'll just play it, almost like a coach.
She would whisper to me, "Coach him. Robert wants him to travel with him. Coach him."
What did coaching mean?
That Robert wants to have sex with you, almost undoubtedly.
Coach them as in
Tell him the facts. Which was 2 lines. There's sex here. That's what's happening here on these trips. That's the whole coaching. They had no idea. He only preyed on heterosexuals. He only preyed on young men that they had no idea.
Yeah, these are just allegations from people that were there.
And I think that's what really pisses me off about this cult, because, they base it around occult teachings by Gurdjieff and Opinski, which I respect, and then they take those teachings, they pervert them, totally reorganize all of what these guys actually were saying. They start a cult to be a predator for young men. We don't see a lot of allegations from women. It's more from men. Like you said in that clip, heterosexual men. It's really disgusting, but that's the thing that ticks me off about the whole situation is that, he was using the teachings of these occult leaders to further his ridiculous, disgusting molestation campaign. And that clip actually made me sick. That's terrible.
I'll play this other one here too, and then I have another one. I think with the IRS. I'll play that one, and then I'll move on.
Robert has sex these days with young men from Romania, Russia, third world countries that come and they see that opportunity as a way to get a green card. So it's not only an honor, it's a passport to America.
See, that's something that I think I might end up Like, the reason I even wanted to play that is because I think I do end up coming up to people that are from that area associated with things with the Fellowship of Friends. So I found that interesting, too, that, like, there's somebody making allegations of, like, people from those countries coming over just to, like, knowing that I just got to screw this guy and I can get into the country. And it's fucking, like, that's what the fuck?
Well, they would also, because of the dwindling numbers,
Yeah.
Fellowship of Friends had not the best press around them. Even though it wasn't covered like a ton, there was still enough out in that area that kept local people from like joining towards the middle and the end of like how long the Fellowship of Friends had been around. And so what they decided to do, because of they couldn't get more members, they wanted to go to Russia. They wanted to go to these different European countries and bring people here for Burton.
All right, and then I'm going to play this last one. This one, if this guy is being honest and truthful about this, this tells you exactly how serious any of these, I guess, what they were following, how serious it really was.
Then we had a big IRS audit in 84, 85, I guess. Then it ran for about 2 years. There were a group of us that were always watching how to make everything look good and be cover for what was actually happening. We thought what we were doing was like God's work, so to speak, and so you didn't mind that you were lying your head off to all the authorities because they were just like Pontius Pilate or something. We never started out as a religion of any kind. The fact that the fellowship is running around now saying it's a religion is a result of the audit. So we made up the religion of the Fellowship of Friends to cover the fact that otherwise it was just Robert doing whatever the hell he wanted. And we wrote the canons of the fellowship, all of its philosophies and everything, and that's what we presented to the IRS to justify ourselves. So in a way, it was all a lie.
So the official canons of the Fellowship of Friends were not written.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, if you're going by that, I guess the whole thing that they're the religion or the rules, the doctrines that they're going by was all just made up to avoid fucking shit with the IRS. All just to get their fucking tax codes.
Wow. Yeah, seems par for the course with this guy. Yeah, and it even proves the point more that this cult was never founded on, an actual belief system. It was just something he used as an excuse.
Yep, that's what I think. That's what it sounds like right there. This guy's being honest. All right, so now we'll get into the Fellowship of Friends, the place itself, not the winery, but I don't know what you call this thing, a compound, fucking whatever. Fellowship of Friends, nonprofit. Gregory Holman again. Remember I mentioned him earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's Alan Schwartzberg, Gregory Holman, and again Heidi Rubach. So I'm going to go into specifics now on those. Here we got Gregory Joe Holman. Shows that he's in an Oregon house. Other locations, Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona. But whatever's right now is supposedly an Oregon house. It shows, the same address as the Fellowship of Friends comes up. Oregon house. Shows him Fellowship of Friends, Inc. And then it shows at one time, but it's inactive now, Friends of Goethe Academy. On the corporation wiki, when I typed in the address to show that that address did match the Fellowship of Friends, and it does show Gregory Holman on there, then I realized that the same address, there was also a Friends of Goethe Academy. Now, we've heard that before. I think we've mentioned them at least 2 or 3 times in our prior stuff.
Yeah, at least
at least twice, I think.
during the Frankist series, we mentioned them, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but we've definitely mentioned it a couple of times.
Now, when I looked up Gregory Holman on Wikipedia, Now, all of these, I'm not sure. Like, I can't say it's him. Some of them it may not even be him. I just thought it was weird that his CT Corporation system does come up for one of them under his name. But this one's in Oregon. Then there is another one in Arizona that did. It's the other shit I did show you earlier. It did say other known addresses was in Arizona. Now maybe it even said Oregon too, and I don't remember, but at least Arizona, I remember that. I mean, there's a Gregory, different W. Holman. That's a totally different name, supposedly. Unless they're just playing funny or whatever, playing around with the middle initial. I don't know. I don't know if you can do that or not, but there was a bunch of those Gregory W. Holman with the corporation company, CT Corporation System, the corporation company Inc.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, what the fuck?
It looks like they're
and then
all
there's
kind of in the same area, too.
Yep, CT Corporation System, CT Corporation System, CT Corporation System, all in Willow Grove, PA, CT Corporation System.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, there's another one here. Yeah, there was a bunch of Gregory Holmans that came up. Some of them, might, who knows, be him. But I did find it weird that, at least with that name, you are fighting the CT Corp.
Well, and tons of different companies.
Mhm.
Like, when I was looking into this guy, you had done more than I did, but from what I can remember, it was something like 70 businesses that were all tied to, like, one person, which I found very weird. And all of them were represented by either CT Corporation Company, United States Corporation Company, the same groups we've seen before.
All right. I'm going to get back to the Go 8th, but that is going to be a whole other, like, folder within folders within folders. So I'm just going to finish the other people's names off, and then I'll go back to that. I just don't want to get all screwy and all over the place. All right. So now let's finish off this person. We had Higet Rubach, if I'm even saying his name right. And there on Bizipedia, it shows that he does have the Renaissance Vineyard and Fellowship of Friends. Renaissance Vineyard, even on their site, it shows his name as the vice president. And then on Academia, I did find it interesting that he does follow his account. His main thing that he follows is Greco-Roman religion, paganism, Roman religion, and philosophy. If this is the same guy on this Academia account, this is like what his tags are. He's into. And he's got some guy named Gaius Florius Aetus or whatever. I'm not following him. I just thought that was
Latin.
Fucking weird. You look at that guy, and it's a Magister of Social Science and History of the Technical University in Berlin, Adeptus of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Priest and Seer of the Temple of Apollo, Berlin. So the one person that's following him is into that, or the one person he's following, vice versa. Let me look at that again. He's following that person.
Well, yeah, that's how I could tell it was Latin, because, when you go into the Golden Dawn, you have to pick a magical name based in Latin or a couple other languages, but Latin's one of them. And, yeah, that totally makes sense. So, like, double checking that, yeah, if he's got a magical name in Latin, then most likely he absolutely is part of the Golden Dawn, and it just fits the bill.
That's funny. Yeah, I forgot to tell you about that. Some of the stuff he did was My Path to Druidry. Druidry. I don't know what this other shit says. It's in fucking German. Lesson on Righteous Piety. Lesson 12, Priest and Politics. Lesson 7, Paganism versus Monotheism. So, it was following somebody that was definitely into occultism.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only thing I could really find on that guy. Then I'll go to Schwartzberg. Really don't think he even had much on him. I'll just show it. Like 3 slides. Alan Schwartzberg. He's a project consultant and senior technical writer at HP Pro Curve. Now I remember why I even bothered showing that. HP Pro Curve, it shows over here, University of Michigan. HP Pro Curve was the name of the network division of Hewlett-Packard from 1998 to 2010 and associated with the products that it sold. The name of the division was changed to HP Networking in September 10 after HP bought 3Com Corporation. The HP division that became HP ProCurve division began in Roseville, California in 1979. And what did they make? A variety of different networking products that have been made by HP. They got Ether Twist and LAN switches. I mean, a bunch of like networking shit. So I just thought that might have been interesting about that guy. You know, he has experience with networking and computer shit, I would guess. Yeah, but nothing else really.
It's starting to kind of paint a picture that, right? Because the guy that you had showed earlier, he was also into like a lot of the computing stuff, right? Remember, he was like the head exec of some thing that he had done with like computing, and can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but you just showed him not long ago.
Yeah, it might have been Richard Thiel you were talking about.
Yeah, so it's like more of this centering around like networking online and stuff, which I'm sure is like that's how they get their new recruits, dude.
Oh, know? Yeah. I'm sure there is part of that online for sure. So now I looked up the Friends of Goethe Academy. And there's the registered agent Anna Romano that shows in California, Roseville. And then the principal address, here we have the same address as the Fellowship of Friends, 12587, Rice's Crossing Roads, Oregon House, whatever. Same address as Fellowship of Friends. You have Alexander Shalapanov, Anna Romano, and Sylvia Fassi. They're listed on here. This is what happens when you click on the site. If you type in that Fellowship of Goethe Academy, the first link that comes up for some reason, you click on it and it takes you to some fucking some Chinese site that's selling fake wood burning scenes, I guess. I had to throw it. Then I tossed it into the Wayback Machine. And here's Friends of Goethe. Become a friend of Goethe, Friends of Goethe. It shows you that it's in Los Angeles, California also. Dear Goethe Institute, Los Angeles patrons. In the past 20 years, the Goethe Institute, Los Angeles nonprofit support organization, the Friends of Goethe, has supported the Goethe Institute's cultural programming in Los Angeles and Southern California. The German Currents Film Festival, now celebrating its 11th year, is just the tip of the iceberg. As you may already know, the Goethe Institute's regular programming includes weekly film screenings, performances by European dance troupes, concerts, literary readings, world-class art exhibits, import German and European speakers, and much more. By becoming a member of the Friends of Goethe or through your tax-deductible contribution, you directly assist the Goethe Institute in bringing the best of Germany to Los Angeles. I think that's enough of that. Just wanted to show the German connection. The Goethe Institute is Cultural Institute of the Federal Republic of Germany with a global reach. We promote knowledge of the German language abroad and foster international cultural cooperation. We convey a comprehensive image of Germany by providing information about cultural, social, and political life in our nation. Our cultural and educational programs encourage intercultural dialogue and enable cultural involvement. They strengthen the development of the structures in civil society and foster worldwide mobility.
Yeah, and why I think that connection is so important is because we have covered Goethe before,
Yes.
right? With the Frankfurt, more or less, for people who didn't get a chance to listen to maybe the past podcasts, there was like this, I guess, like an effort in the early 1900s to create these different think tanks and schools that would go out through the world and influence society, culture, and the two biggest ones were Frankfurt and the Goethe, and they work interchangeably, everything from finance to psychology. I think it was even from the University of Michigan. If you wanted to go and study a certain subject, you had to do like this,
Hasn't Michigan popped up for us a few times too? I feel like that's another one, and I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. You just mentioned, that's what made me like just think about it now, is that you would have to go over. And here's the wild thing, dude. University of Michigan is one of the most important and I would say prestigious schools for education. I don't care if you want to be a high school teacher, middle school, you're going to the University of Michigan. It's like one of the best schools for education. And see, it ties back to Frankfurt and Goethe and these think tanks and like pushing different agendas through these different schools that then get taught in the universities. And it's a giant clusterfuck, but it's weird how it's all coming together.
Then right here, it says the Goethe Institute in the USA. Our principal goals are to shape and revise the image of Germany in the United States. Okay. To present contemporary German culture, to foster German language and culture within the American educational system, to develop a transatlantic network for the exchange of culture and ideas.
Right. Remember, Frankfurt and Goethe were responsible for the rise of socialism and communism. They pushed that so hard in their institutes. So just another thing to kind of tackle on.
Yeah, I'm showing some stuff. Yeah, and it shows location San Francisco, pop-up Houston, pop-up Kansas City, pop-up Seattle, Boston, Los Angeles, Washington, Chicago, New York, and some other stuff. Marx Now, when I went under their culture, let me see what's going on their culture part of their website. You got Marx Now. Marx Now. What is still interesting about Karl Marx 200 years after his birth? Why do people on both sides of the Atlantic read the works of this old philosopher of economics? And what can we learn from Marx today? The Goethe Institute in North America asked around for interesting perspectives on Marx and came across all sorts of things worth seeing and hearing. Blah, blah, blah. On the continued relevance of Marx. Marx Now on Spotify. So they even got a podcast.
I'm sure that's a banger.
The Goethe Institute in North America is not alone in commemorating Marx's 200th birthday. The anniversary has motivated a discussion of Marx and his theories on many levels among the Goethe Institute worldwide. Here you will find a selection of articles on this topic. You have The Fading of Political Color, Marxist Ideas Alive on in Film. This I found, I looked into some of these. Our partners. I find this one interesting because this one actually goes back to something that I'm almost positive somebody at the OTO was actually involved in. They were into like this idea. We were internationally operating progressive nonprofit institution for civic education focused on transatlantic left voices. They were about climate justice, global solidarity, transatlantic left voices. Transatlantic left voices building a dialogue between progressives in North America and Europe. Some of the things that they were showing were multilateralism in the Biden administration, sex work through New York City's pandemics, sex work and mutual aid during COVID-19, how Germany failed sex workers. Fucking weird. Fighting for money and dignity, sex work in Berlin, socialism reignited in America, and then this one, I don't know how the fuck I even caught this shit. It has to be because I just see this dumb bitch on the fucking TV a lot. I saw this one picture right here where it says towards a progressive Democratic Party, and even with that bitch's mask on, somehow I was like, yo, is that motherfucking AOC? And yes, it is.
Yeah.
With the New York Working Families Party. So this right here shows you AOC associated with the far left fucking thing. Right here.
Well, oh yeah.
I mean, it's quite obvious.
It.
But I mean, she's working with a far left fucking thing that supports the Goethe Institute or partners with them.
Oh, not only that, but the DSA, they, what's the word? It's not when you're promoting. Oh, when you endorse someone. The DSA endorsed Cortez before she got elected. So people at DSA were pushing her to actually get into that position. So, I mean, that's a deep one because she's a weird figure in general, man. Yeah. She was, of course, supporting Bernie Sanders, which was also DSA. Yeah, it's all tied together with that.
Yeah. You got German Historical Institute, Washington. That was the GHI. Throw that shit up into the Wayback Machine. The German Historical Institute in Washington is a center for advanced historical research, working with junior and senior scholars around the world. The GHI facilitates dialogue and collaboration across national disciplinary boundaries. They're talking about climate change, energy, sustainability in the Pacific region, migration and racism in the United States and Germany in the 20th century, change in motion, environment, migration and mobilities, sort of stuff. I did think that I thought this was interesting that they had on their site. Anthropoid from Enlightenment Monster to AI. This lecture is it's like the spirits that I called artificial life from the Enlightenment to the present. It's kind of weird that they had like something to do with AI there. Feminism today. The 5 most important questions. Who am I, and what do I want to be? Also on this site, they have gender diversity topics. I've tried all sorts of identities. What the fuck? Self-test. How feminist am I? Your new battle arena for feminists. And it just keeps on going on and on. It shows you right here the board members for this Go Eighth place. Willie A. Flegel is the president. He's best known for his work in the field of RH blood group. It was like, I just got to mention this because I found that weird. And people always talking about RH blood and shit, you know. Flegel is the chief of the Laboratory Services section of the Department of Transfusion Medicine at the National Institutes of Health Clinical Center. So, this guy, he was also on there, his list of the Go Eighth University. John Patrick Schmitz is an American attorney and political advisor who served as Deputy White House Counsel to President George H.W. Bush from 1989 to 1993 and Deputy Counsel to Vice President Bush during the Reagan administration. Schmitz clerked for Antonin Scala at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia from 1983 to 1984. He's fluent in German. No shit. So he's associated with the Go Eighth. The lady, now there was an Amy that was on there. That was just showing with the other names. Amy Catherine Cardell. She is a attorney, well, she's a lawyer in California. Then there's a Christopher Shimanek, or however you say his name, that was on that Go Eighth thing as well. Delegation of Germany Industry and Commerce in Washington, D.C. He's president and CEO, acting president and CEO. He's representative of German Industry and Trade, acting president and CEO, and senior director. I just thought those were interesting people to cover and what they're about that are associated with this place as well. It's like a rabbit hole in a rabbit hole. Right? Sorry. But and then it shows that there is one in Washington as well. Institute. Friends of Go Eighth Institute in Washington, D.C. So. There's people all over the place.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, the more that we're covering this subject, I'm starting to get a bigger picture, and I'm not going to make any, like, huge claims about it because I, can't absolutely prove it. But to me, okay, so you got these cult members. They're all in Google. They're working in Google, and they're, getting this wine that's preserved or given to the different like Google parties and things, and they're making sure that this cult, Fellowship of Friends, has infiltrated Google, and now we've seen it with these different news articles that have come out about how this was an actual real thing that they infiltrated Google, and then you look at, well, how is that even possible, dude? I mean, Google, they know when I have a cold, and they'll send me advertisements for, Robitussin. But you need to tell me that Google didn't know that there were these cult members infiltrating this advertisement section of Google? Get out of here. And then you look at the guy who owns Google, of course, right? Bill Gates. and he went to Harvard. Now, Harvard has deep, close ties to Goethe.
Yeah.
Like, it's just starting to build a bigger picture, you know?
For sure. Yeah. Now we have Alexandra Shalapanov. He was one of the other people's names that was on the Fellowship of Friends. It shows no workplace to show. Studied mechanical engineering at Petrozovsk State University. Lives in Oregon House, California. He's from I don't even know how to say this shit. And he's married to Marissa, same last name. This is just her. I thought that was interesting. Just that's her fucking thing on her Facebook page. With him, it says that he went to, now back to him, his high school, he went to Podprogy, whatever that is. And you see that little fucking, there's like a little even icon for it.
Mm-hmm.
That one I found, it's a town and the administrative center of blah, blah, blah is in, this is Russia. It's a little bit, it's 285 kilometers northeast of St. Petersburg. There's a state university there. So that's basically where that guy is from, Russia. Remember before how I said, like, there's supposedly people coming from other countries even over there getting, you know, kind of getting in, just sleeping with this dude? One of the people that's on there is associated with Russia.
Hmm.
Yeah, so could that be possible? Then we have Anna Romano. Show her real quick. Anna Romano, research scientist for Ismaglov's laboratory group. She went to Caltech and University of Hawaii at Manoa. The Ismaglov group. Welcome to the Ismaglov group website. Is passionate about bringing creativity, science, and technology to solve problems in global health. Members of our group have backgrounds in chemistry, biology, engineering, medicine, and biophysics, creating a rich interdisciplinary and collaborative environment. We collaborate with clinical teams, industry, and other stakeholders to translate our research into impact. We are pursuing programs in rapid diagnostics of infectious diseases, including the several COVID-19 related projects, blah, blah, blah. So this shows you that Anna Romano works there. There she is again. So yeah, I mean, like, you got somebody who's like now into like biochemistry, like shit.
Mm-hmm.
In our lab, we use single molecule technologies, mathematical modeling, microfluids, microbiology, and clinical data to develop rapid diagnostics of phenotypic antimicrobial. Oh, fuck, man. I can't read this shit. I don't know. It's fucking some weird. I mean, there's, you know, they got something going on there. Chemistry and chemical engineering. So, just thought that would be interesting to mention at least. Sylvia Fassi, Oregon House. She has Sylvia Fassi Inc. So she also has another place in Oregon House, Sylvia Fassi Inc. And then it shows the Friends of Goethe Academy. The same address as Fellowship of Friends, like I mentioned before, 12587. Sylvia Fassi, it shows, you know, location Oregon House again, just from another site. She has a boutique qualitative research agency. We are passionate about unearthing insights to deliver strategic and actionable recommendations. We conduct qualitative research in the U.S. and across the world. We are driven by a desire to understand cultures and people and provide our clients with a depth of knowledge and understanding built through years of research. What we do, we specialize in international research and have been doing so for over 20 years. We work with the boutique agencies and handpicked across the world and work solely with senior moderators. The founder is Sylvia Fassi. She was born and raised in Italy in a bicultural family and has always been fascinated by cultural similarities and differences in how they play out in people's decisions and at the level of the subconscious. After getting a master's in social and political theory from Cambridge University, Sylvia pursued her interest in cultures and applied to the qualitative research. Having lived in Italy, the UK, the US, and Germany, and France, analyzing cultures and behaviors is her passion. So that was I don't know. A lot of like, I don't know. I feel like all these things together just seem to be weird.
Yeah, it does. And I was even looking at, like, okay, so I happened to randomly find while we were just even like recording, because the name Goldman rang a bell for me. Because, okay, so first I mentioned Goldman because Goldman was Burton's lawyer. Abraham Goldman, in the article that I was just reading earlier in the San Diego Union, 1995 by Jordan Smith. So this says that Abraham Goldman was Burton's attorney. Now, when you look up Abraham Goldman, it seems like there's, of course, it might be a very common name, but just found it kind of curious. I wanted to bring up real quick that so there's another article that was written in May 21st, 2019, and this is by Guido Goldman, and the name of the article is "The Long, Deep Ties Between Harvard and Germany." And just wondered if there's some weird connection there, because it seems like Germany keeps being brought up over and over. Certain schools are brought up over and over. Certain names reappear. Just weird.
Yes, definitely. And that's really about it that I got on my end for today. I had some stuff on the Apollo Arts, but I'll probably just save that for the next one.
Yeah. I mean, I could show the lawyer stuff now if you wanted to finish it out there, or
It's
we
up
could
to
just
you.
call it quits, whatever you want.
I think this is fine. I mean, we're at an hour already, so yeah. So I thought that was really weird with the like going back to Go Eighth again. I mean, by far it has, it's definitely a leftist, thing. I mean, we even showed I thought that was crazy, even with the AOC thing. I mean, that right there shows that she's like fucking a leftist. I mean, you don't even have to question it now.
Oh yeah, she's about as far left as they'll come.
And she's just like a mouthpiece anyway, I think, because she doesn't get anything done. She just like likes, I think, stir shit and fucking start shit.
Right, and again, like I was saying earlier, it just the fact that this cult isn't being covered more in the news weirds me out. And then when you look at the satellites around this cult, right, you got ties to Ghost, ties to Harvard, Google. Something bigger is going on here, and I don't know what it is exactly, but it feels like, to me at least, this cult was created in the 70s, around the same time that many other cults were started. And, it's right off the heels of the MK Ultra experiments. I'm getting the vibe, at least, that there was a multitude of different cults that were started, and they used different charismatic leaders to head these cults. And they used certain occult principles, whatever, but it was them kind of being like a test bed. They wanted to see how they could use occultism and a charismatic leader along with drugs to influence people within a cult, which, of course, that data is very important for whoever's really behind the whole thing. And, even if that's not the case, Burton still altered occult concepts and then used it to do terrible, terrible things to people in the name of occultism. And, it coming out all this time later now that it's tied to Google and everything makes me think that it's probably not just a coincidence, and that there really might be some deeper ties to the cult movement that was pushed during the late 60s and early 70s. And we'll see where we go from here, my friend.
Yeah, I definitely think there was a lot of weird connections with this. I mean, even if you just think, like, because, the thing is, like, when I go, went around it that way, like, you may forget, like, now when you're thinking of just, like, the Fellowship of Friends and taking out the Go Eighth thing, you have somebody in there that's a into this fucking chemistry shit, and somebody who's into researching, You know what I'm saying? And then some
Right.
fucking dude from fucking Russia. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
that's fucking weird in itself that they all have to do that other shit besides being associated with this cult.
And Fellowship of Friends, they start a vineyard, right? Now, all these years later, this vineyard, I don't drink wine, I fucking don't care about it, but apparently this is really, really good wine, right? Like, it's reviewed in all these different magazines and people who, you know, review wine, but you take a look at the fact that this is such a highly reviewed wine, it's so great. So you mean to tell me that Google couldn't figure out when they were ordering a giant case full of wine that this was owned by a cult?
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. You know, I think it was more of a partnership between Fellowship of Friends and whatever was going on there at Google than it was like them, Fellowship of Friends infiltrating Google so that they could, like, you know, push stuff. It seems to me that Google knew what was going on. This was just part of like some type of weird psychological operation. I don't know. And then now it even makes me think more that way because they're not covering it in the news. So
I would even say, even if it was an infiltration, I can't see how Google didn't figure it out anyway. Like, there's no, I don't think there's an excuse either way that you look at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, neither it was, or it was already fucked from the beginning, like you said, probably. But even if it wasn't, like, I'm sorry, I don't believe that they don't realize this shit. Like you're even saying, I mean, they're buying wine off of them. They have dealt with them too. It said what, wine and massages or some shit.
Right. Like, I mean, this, you know, to supply some of these parties, any administrator or like intern would be like, all right, so we're ordering Renaissance wine. All right, I'm going to go to the website. Oh shit, this is owned by a cult. I'm not going to order this wine. Obviously, this is a bad look for Google. You can't convince me that no one knew that the suppliers of this wine were a cult. They were okay with it, and that you know, they didn't infiltrate Google. They were more or less, in my opinion, invited into this advertising part of Google, especially when you look at what AGM.
Oh yeah,
Remember
ASG. I think it's ASG.
ASG, yeah. So it was like the recruiting company that would send people
that and
to
Kelly
Google.
Services, yes.
It's all connected to Fellowship of Friends, bizarre stuff. That's not an accident.
No, that was all by design, I think, for sure. Like I was just saying, like even if it wasn't, I still can't make me think they don't know. So, regardless, you know, Google's complicit with this shit. Even if you're allowing it to happen and you know you're complicit with it.
Yeah, and it tripped me out. This was the first time that I'd heard that when you brought up the fact that the guy, I can't remember his name, was researching RH bloodlines.
Oh, yes. RH blood, yes. Dealt with RH
so
blood.
He's looking into these bloodlines. I mean, that's just random and weird to me that, you know, he would be looking into something so specific with the bloodlines. And also when you take a look at Google, they're making all these vaccines that focus on certain you know, RNA technology.
Oh,
pretty similar to me.
Sorry about that noise. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I don't know. There's so much shit with this, and like, you know, I try to hopefully, you know, people were able to understand it as I went through all that crap. But I do think it was just a lot of like, so many different weird things I could have went at, but I was just like, this is enough. But there's like,
and I think
too much crossing over with weird shit for sure.
Yeah, and it's kind of to end here with the whole thing is like, so I'm pretty sure with you experienced the same thing that I did when looking into Burton, when looking into information about Fellowship of Friends. It's like there's a black hole on the internet, and you're picking up small pieces that are left over that they didn't totally remove, and you're trying to piece it together to try to put the puzzle, you know, in one piece.
Yes.
It's just very weird. Even with like the Order of Jesters, Shriners, I have never seen this level of just everything's gone, dude. Everything's gone.
It's actually very hard to find out anything really about that dude himself at all.
Right.
Except for like what accounts you'll get from people who come out talking about the stuff. Really, I mean, besides that, I mean, if you try to look for him on the internet, you're not finding much about the fucking dude at all.
Documents that should be public knowledge are gone. It's the Wayback Machine, Internet Archive. You can't find much. And I haven't seen that much censorship over a subject that we've covered so far. Hell, I was able to go and find ATIP documents that outline really crazy stuff on the CIA. And yet I can't find background information about Burton. It's weird, man. Seems like they're trying to cover up something.
Yes.
And probably all
He's
the
an
ties
enigma.
that we suspect. Yeah.
He's an enigma. Yeah. Oh, God. He was a wizard.
A butt wizard.
Oh, fuck. Booty bandit.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, that's the end of, I guess, episode 2 of the Fellowship of Friends. Yeah, I think the next one, I will have stuff on Kelly's Services and that other place and Apollo. It'll be a little bit of a mix of a bunch of different things. So, yeah, there'll definitely be in episode 3. So look out for that one. And sure, there'll be some interesting stuff there. Oh, actually, I know for a fact that there's some interesting stuff. So definitely look out for episode 3. I guess any news, our Discord is down. I mean, this will probably be old news by the time people are hearing this, but we do have a Telegram chat. We might even have something else up and running, too, at this point. I just got to find out. I think we have something that's called, like, Element. It's like an old Discord. I know it's been set up. It's just that me and Lux actually have to, like, sit down with the people who designed it, which was actually fans and listeners that spent the time designing this thing and have to, like, figure it out. But it should be, like, a replacement for Discord and hopefully be kind of almost just like our Discord. We'll even have sub-channels of the people that were already there as long as we can get them to jump on. And a whole bunch of things, messaging. I think it's pretty much almost like what was Discord before Discord. So hopefully that is a lot harder to get banned for whatever reason we get banned. That shouldn't happen as easy, and I do think that it's also capable of being attached to like a website. So in the future, if we ever get a website, we can attach that to it, and it'd be pretty cool. So yeah,
and
so we have that
huge shout out, by the way, to Helen. I know that she worked on that a lot.
Helen,
She'd already
Eric,
been working
and
on
Asha.
it. Was that?
Helen, Eric, and Asha. I know for sure.
Yeah, big shout out to those guys. Thank you so much. It's really badass that you guys are working on that. So if you're listening, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't. I was unfortunate when they were trying to show me everything they did. I was gone for the weekend, and I couldn't really even I was just like, what the fuck? There's a lot of shit to it, and I'm just like, damn, it's going to be a lot to catch up on. But it should be pretty easy for everybody else. I just have to understand what's going on. And it should be just like our Discord. So, that could be in the bottom links now by the time you're hearing this, I'm hoping. If not, it is then to come soon. So check that out. And we still got our tour and more going. Knock on wood. No strikes yet, so you can keep on tuning in. Oh, well, this probably isn't on there, this episode. This one may not go on there. Our other stuff that we might worry about that's going to get censored. Like I said, we do have Starlight Watch that we could drop there, as well as BitChute and Rumble like we normally use. But stuff that's not going on YouTube, we will host there as well. And yeah, that's new stuff for us. And yeah, so that's about it. Lux's show, his show notes is in the bottom. My show notes are in the bottom. And the Occult Rejects, everywhere that we're available, is in the bottom. And in the link tree that we have. And I guess that's about it. That's the end of another Occult Rejects. It's the end of episode 2 of the Fellowship of Friends. And definitely tune in for the third one. It's going to be another interesting one for sure. And yeah, that's it. And later.